people argue that we came from apes, but we are not present day monkeys. So I don't really know what it's like to be a monkey, but we do know what it's like for people to play in our face.
I feel like as a marketer, storytelling is the core of everything that we do. You have to get the emotion, like you were saying, behind what your target person is doing. So whether that is laughter, are you crying? Is it love? You have to nail down the emotion.
What captures people's attention is a conflict. That is what a story is. How is someone, something, some world contending with a problem? In marketing, we want the problem to be something our audience can identify with. You know, we talk about making purchasing decisions, really an emotional decision that people back up with logic. That's why storytelling is so predominant in sales, in marketing, because we want to kind of elicit emotion out of people.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome back.
Don't you feel so complete? We have a season done, and this is the first episode of season 2.
Yes, I'm very proud of us.
Well, that's not a country. Season 2.
Well, I mean, you country. That's okay.
I'm not country.
Oh.
Okay.
So we're going to start season 2 off in denial.
Okay. No.
But yeah, I'm excited. This is season 2. I hope y'all liked
I know, y'all, our new intro. We leveling it up.
You
in
know,
the world.
You know, since we got some stuff, you know, in the case that we can pull from, we can make a real intro now. So
yes. Well, we got a lot of exciting things for you for season 2, but today we are going to talk about storytelling. Because I feel like as a marketer, storytelling is like the core of everything that we do. So you have to have a captivating story when it comes to content creation, when it comes to ads, and especially when it comes to social media, because, you know, nowadays everybody has a short attention span. So if you are not captivating them, they're going to slide right past you, skip, or they're going to tune you out, stop listening if it's in person. So I know that you're a great storyteller, and we could walk down the components, and I have to give a lot of like lectures and presentations in class. So I want us to walk through today how we can break down the pillars of telling a great captivating story.
Well, I think there are 2 approaches. So one, there is the technical, which I guess technically leans into my background. For those of you who may not know, I'm a filmmaker first. So I went to school for film production. So this is literally what I got my degree in. And that was how I kind of translated it into marketing, like figuring out how to apply that somewhere else. So there's that component. And it's more like if I run down the list of things here that make up a good story arc, you'll be able to like associate it with stuff, you know. But then there's the other side that I would like to say is more down to earth, if you will. So the components that like a normal person off the street would be able to tell you makes a good story, and then show you how they're really related and connected. And my recommendation would be to do some of all of it.
Okay, so let's start with the first part, and then we'll work our way to the second part.
Okay, so technically speaking, right, these are the components of a good story arc. Is really 5 of them, right? The first component is exposition, which is basically like background. We consider it like creating the natural world. So what are the normal state of things? Then there's rising action. So something is creating interest or curiosity or leading or clearly there's a conflict here. So it's kind of where the natural world shifts. So if the opening scene is me in school, walking down the highway, going to class, like that is the normal world. And then maybe I come out of one of my classes and there's a person I don't recognize standing in the highway. So from that moment on, now we got rising action because everybody like, what's going on? Then you got the climax. Most people know of climax is like the pinnacle. Like basically everything is coming to a head. And then the falling action is how is that thing getting resolved, right? And then you got the resolution, which is like the end. I feel like what really makes a good story and y'all gonna hate me because I say this about everything, but it's truly knowing your audience. Like, you have to know who you're telling the story to, because then you can lean into and kind of play on some of the storytelling tactics that you know work for them.
Okay.
So, like, I am a Black person, for those of you who don't know. And if you're on the internet, you know that there's a trend going around about the ways in which we spice up a story, right? So if I hit you with a, girl, let me tell you, that's rising action right there. We didn't jump straight to it. Because now you want to know, girl, what? Right? And instead of jumping straight to what happened, I'm going to start giving you some context. So I'm going to go back.
Okay.
And I may say something like, mind you, right? Or whole time, I am going backwards in the storytelling arc. So now I'm giving you exposition. I started with, good, what's going on? And now I'm giving you some context. And then I may move forward into the climax. And I may draw it on out. Got you leaned in like, what? Because I know how I like to hear stories. I know it's interesting to me. And so I'm able to give that to somebody else.
I really think that that's good that your background is film production and filmmaking, because you are already given like, okay, these are the components that, because you see it visually. Now you as a marketer know how to verbalize it. So when you are on stage or when you're presenting in front of an audience, what is like the main takeaways that you see like the audience being very captivated in? So like when I'm in class, right, I really have grown to love the art of storytelling and to captivate an audience, because I see it as, I want to be able to teach something or portray something that might be hard or that's hard to understand, and breaking down in an engaging, enthusiastic way. And whether that be, interacting and engaging, having, calling out in the audience, having them do activities, making them go back in time. And I think the real key of storytelling will probably is to take them back to make them be in the shoes of the story that you're telling. So talk about that when you're giving presentations and in front of an audience.
Well, I'm not good at giving presentations in front of audiences, y'all. Yeah, I don't do that well at all. And I don't do storytelling in that context very well at all, because I just don't think like that. I mentioned that I went to school for film production. And when I think of storytelling, I do think of it in that context. I think of storytelling for entertainment purposes. So I don't do the best job of blending the entertainment aspect with the educational aspect. I usually, if I'm going to give a presentation somewhere, I have to start with like the information I want people to know. And then I have to go back in and like forcefully remove information and then force in stories, because that just don't come natural to me. But majority of the people in the world do learn like that. And like, psychologically, and even biologically, there are things that happen in our brains when we hear stories that can make it easier to remember things. But for me personally, that just, oddly enough, that part of it don't come naturally to me. What I do tend to do though, because I'm the type to make associations. I love a parallel. So if I'm explaining something, I like to give an example in a parallel world, which I can convert those things into stories. I think some of the best speakers, some of the best presenters, the entire presentation is a story. And sometimes they will weave things in and out. So they may start with the exposition and the rise in action, and then they may go into like a tangent about with more information, and then that may lead into the climax, like what got us on the edge of our seat. But personally, I'm not the best at that. But what I will say is, what captures people's attention is a conflict. Like, that is what a story is. Like, how is someone, something, some world contending with a problem? And so typically when we're using storytelling in marketing, we want the problem to be something our audience can identify with, because then that allows them to put themselves in the shoes of the main character. And so if they're able to put themselves in the shoes of the main character, then all of the emotions that the main character are experiencing throughout the story, they can empathize with. And so, we talk about making purchasing decisions being really an emotional decision that people back up with logic. That's why storytelling is so predominant in sales, in marketing, because we want to kind of elicit emotion out of people. And again, storytelling is a great way to do that. But what I think is particularly interesting online right now is, I just named 5 things that are technically part of storytelling. How do you do that in a shorter time window, because people's attention spans are shorter? And to some extent, I think that is a challenge that we do need to contend with. But on the other hand, did you watch the series on TikTok, Who the F Did I Marry? Do you even know?
I think I saw a little bit of it. It was like a little series, but how like the cliffhangers, how she kept like leaving people hanging to go back.
So Risa Tisa had a series on TikTok called Who the F Did I Marry? And it took the internet by storm, and she, got some brand deals. I want to say I saw a picture, don't know if it's true, but that she's in talks with somebody about turning it into a show. But I brought up Risa Tisa because it was an absorbent amount of videos. Like,
it was like part
40s. Yeah, right. Like maybe in the 40s. It was a lot of parts. TikTok can go up to 10 minutes, maybe. What's the longest video?
They done changed it up so much.
But she was pretty much using up the entire time you could use for a TikTok video. And a good bit of the internet watched all of it, me included. And I brought that up because, yes, we have a short attention span, but I don't think the solution to trying to overcome that challenge is figuring out how to tell a whole story in a short amount of time. I think it is getting to the part of the rising action that connects with people quicker. That's really it. Because we watched all however many parts of that series on TikTok. It's why YouTube is still doing well. It's why TV, Netflix series, like people are still watching long form media. So it's not about, oh, this is too long. It's about, do I care soon enough to finish it? And so the caring part is about part of the conflict. Sometimes it's also part of the characters. Like sometimes I watch something and I'm like, I don't care about none of these people.
I like how you talked about like caring about what they're listening to. So tying it back to a marketing aspect, you being a business owner, how do you storytell and sell what you're doing to your target audience?
Now that I have more data, I can actually just tell the stories of other clients. But in the beginning, I would put myself in the shoes of my clients to imagine, what the issues are that they're dealing with. And again, thinking about the emotions that they are likely experiencing in those problems, and then being able to tell stories that pull those emotions out of them. So if the problem I'm solving for a client is connected to like a frustration, maybe they like don't know how to figure something out. I may tell a story about that thing being frustrating, or like validating the emotion and the experience of the frustration. Because if they hear that and they connect with it, then I have them in their attention. And at that point, barring that the rest of what I'm saying is helpful and valuable, at that point, it won't matter how long I'm talking because they're locked in.
Okay.
Right. They feel seen. They feel heard. Again, in this frame of like short attention spans, the main thing is how do you capture people's attention and get them to care early enough. And so I think that's where we can lean more into what are things that catch people's attention. Because
when I'm like scrolling, I will say the more like notorious things get talked about and get like watched. So like if you're watching like a TV show or a movie, if it's not us, like you said, the sense going back to the filmmaking, a sense of conflict that is going to be resolved, then people don't really watch. People love mess. So like if I'm scrolling on TikTok, things that pop up such as, it'd be like little TikTokers that be like messy, or like on Instagram.
Like when they be beefing with each other.
It's really bad. And it'd be so stupid, but like people watch it, but it's just like it be engaged, like, oh, what they doing, like what they call, they got an STD, they sleeping with so and so. It's like stuff like that. But I feel like in a business sense, you have to kind of switch that, because just because you are getting, like you had said in previous episodes, you're getting views, that doesn't generate to leads. So just because you have a notorious story that is getting attention doesn't mean that it's going to be valuable for your company. Because I know like a lot of ads and stuff, like previous ads, we were talking about this, like the Kylie Jenner ad from like 2017, and then there was the Snapchat ad from Chris Brown and Rihanna. It was like, it was like something along the lines of like, who do you want to slap Rihanna or punch Chris Brown or something like that. Like that's not that ad, and like storytelling, it got the audience attention, but it got it in a notorious way. So how would you still captivate an audience without having conflict that is condescending on others?
I mean, the Risa Tisa example, she started out with Who the F Did I Marry? If I'm not mistaken, that is a real show on one of the streaming platforms. What she was able to do is taking something that people are familiar with and kind of flipping it. So in that case, that is the name of a TV show. People are used to seeing that in the context of whatever streaming platform it is. So it is a production, but this is an individual talking to her phone, right? So what's happening psychologically is it's like, oh, this is a phenomenon I understand and I'm familiar with, but this is a different context. I'm interested. And then she just started talking. I think where she kind of won is that she started talking like people talk to each other. So she started giving us a whole lot of context, but from the beginning. And so what we're doing is, I'm a backup. What I do when I'm hearing stories is I'm trying to jump ahead and guess how it's ending. What I've learned recently is everybody's brain don't work like that. Some people are just enjoying the story as it's happening, but I am trying to predict the outcome. And so I am locked in because I'm trying to see, this gonna sound real bad, but I'm locked in because I'm trying to see if I'm right. Now, I know I'm not the only person in the world who does that, but apparently not everybody does that. But that to say, the way to get me engaged and interested in something is probably gonna be a little different than how you can get other people engaged and interested in something, which again is why you always have to go back to your audiences. If you start out, Lord. So a little background. I didn't make the outline for this episode, but that also what that means is that y'all gonna get a whole lot of my natural brain chemistry. So one of my special interests at the moment is geography, and so I'm watching a lot of content about geography and natural disasters. And so all you got to do to get me interested is say something like the biggest tornado to ever hit the U.S. Locked in. I'm locked in. And what I'm trying to do is, I know a lot of tornadoes. There's the Reno tornado. So I'm trying to predict, is it the tornado? Do I already know which one it is? Right? That's fun for me. I'm locked in. That is not how you're going to get everybody's attention, obviously. But that works for me. Some people, the familiarity piece is why a lot of commercials have jingles. And a lot of them more recently will use popular songs that we already know. It's like, I know that I like that. And then you're sucked in, and then it's going to take you a minute to realize, oh, this ain't what I thought it was. But now you're like, well, but what is this? Mm-hmm. So it's different ways. Maybe it is something that is jarring, something shocking, something really sad. This is unfortunate, but a lot of times something really, really happy, unless it's just like outrageously happy. Why would I care? Right? Like, people need to care. You need to be able to create the stakes and get people invested in the stakes as soon as possible. On one hand, as an art and as a science, that can be difficult. But on the other hand, before any other channel of communication that we're using right now. Human beings communicated via storytelling. It is how information got passed down. So to some extent, it is natural to us, which is why I'm always an advocate of people can be empowered to get more involved in this part of their own businesses, because all you're doing is leveraging what's natural amongst the humans anyway, and you are human. And so if you think about some of the things that like work on you, you know, you can lean into those things. It's just that we don't think about it a lot of the times, right? Like, again, recent teaser, that thing happened. Yes, that was the who the F did I marry bit that people were like, what is this? But she started talking to us like your homegirl did. Right? I don't know if she did that strategically, but it is a strategy you can use, right?
I'm trying to think of all of the enticing ads and movies that I've been through and watched, and commercials and all of the things. And the main three, as you were talking, that I feel like that align with what you were saying, will be first, emotion. I feel like you have to get the emotion, like you were saying, behind what your target person is doing. So whether that is a sense of your laughter, are you crying, or is it love? Like, you have to nail down the emotion. What emotion is the audience that you are targeting feeling? And then I feel like the next one would be connection. So real life scenarios. What can they connect to from their life that connects with what the story that you're trying to tell? And then I think the third one would be sense of belonging. You have to, when we go back to putting that person in the shoes of the story that's being told, if no one has a sense of belonging in the story that you're telling, they're not going to want to engage into what you're trying to sell or what you're trying to get them to buy. So I think for me, those would make up like the main three components. And then it goes back to like what sound that you have, like what sound are you engaging as well, especially like in videos, because that ties back to the first one, like the emotion. So is the theme like you can't be having like a sad video and you got like upbeat music. So basically what you're hearing and then also what you're feeling, and then having that sense of belonging, I think would tie it all in.
On the filmmaking side, we are creating worlds. And so all of those components go into creating a world, even down to like the bit about belonging. It's how do I pull out the most human part of this? Because if you think about, like, there are movies about aliens and it's like, I'm not an alien. I've never been an alien. I don't know what aliens be doing, but it's what the aliens are doing that connects to true human emotion. So it allows you to be able to put yourself in the shoes. It's like, oh, I mean, these are aliens, but that alien like that alien. I mean, I've had a crush on somebody before. Yeah. So those are the things that we're really drawn to when it starts talking about storytelling and connecting. Another thing that kind of came up is just the pain points. What are the frustrations? What are the pain points of your clients? And can you allow them to resonate with those emotions in a story? I think about a lot of times movies like Avatar,
Lion King with Scar. And
probably Lion King, but I'm thinking about more like a lot of the dystopian type movies are usually commentary on social stuff like race.
Yeah.
Honestly, even Planet of the Apes, like there's a group.
They crucify and Caesar to a cross like Jesus.
But like there's usually a group that is the underclass, and then there's an uprising, and then there's a takeover. We are not, I mean, people argue that we came from apes, but we are not present day monkeys. So I don't really know what it's like to be a monkey. But we do know what it's like for people to play in our face.
Yeah.
And so I can understand why he mad. You know what I'm saying? So like if that is the pain point that I'm trying to agitate in somebody to call them to action, it doesn't actually matter like what route I take to get there in terms of who are the characters, what are they dealing with.
I feel like it's just a little Kayla running in with all the cabinet files in your head and just like
exactly what happened.
Okay.
That's exactly what happened.
But so to put, I want us each to give, like for the closing, to give storytelling of marketing with a bow on top, one advice that you would take away from it. So one advice you would take away for storytelling when it comes to marketing. with a pretty bow on top.
So advice I would give somebody else about storytelling in marketing.
One thing. One person in the box. What would it be? You want me to go first?
Yes.
Okay. So to wrap up today, I would say the one present that I would give with the bow on top would be, you gotta, all the things that we said today, but at the end of the day, you got to keep aligned with your story. So you can't be rambling, going off on different tangents of your story. Like you walk in and then you take a left and then you at somebody else's house and you at another person's house. Like you got to stay on the straight and narrow path. And on that path, you have emotion. You have sense of belonging. You have all these different things that you want, but you have to stay on the straight and narrow to get to your destination. So you have the beginning, the climax, and the end, but you want to keep the audience captivated throughout the whole thing. that's the pretty gift with the bow that I have. So what would be your words of wisdom?
Tell stories that interest you.
That's good.
Yeah. I mean, if you don't care about it, I don't think nobody else gonna care.
Yeah.
So
that's good. Well, this was a good first episode for season 2. We have a lot of guests coming on that we're very excited for. I love when we have guests. It's just so good.
Not a lot of guests.
Yes.
In other words.
And the audience, I feel like y'all like the guests too when we have them.
She just don't like talking to me.
What?
But it's okay.
No, it's just like the guests just give different perspectives, and I love the different occupations that people have.
Not occupations.
And then we just tie it all back to marketing, because marketing is really like the core of every occupation, everything that we do. So that's our job, to get it back to them. Okay. I think that you gonna close them out.
May the Lord watch. I'm just kidding.
We love Jesus. Don't play with him.
But we are looking forward to this season. I think this was a good first episode because the through line between what we do and what everybody else do is storytelling. Like, we all got to do this, how we communicate. So I think being able to see and hear how that plays out in other people's lives, journeys, careers, and then all the things we'll all be able to kind of glean from their experiences. It should be a good season too.
Yes. So y'all stay tuned for all the stories from future guests.
And if you don't follow us on social media, first of all, why? But you should, because we do pull snippets from the episodes. And if you're watching this episode, you should go back to our Instagram and watch the recaps from season 1.
Yes.
Because they were funny.
Don't be a monitoring spirit. Just watch on socials and don't come subscribe or follow. Like, be active. We want y'all as a community. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Alrighty, I think that wraps it up. Until the next episode. Bye, y'all.